Hi everybody, welcome to the coaching channel. Welcome to another video from the playlist Get to Know the Coach. And today I'm talking to Jennifer Askey. Jennifer, welcome to the coaching channel.
Thank you so much, Rob. It is delightful to be here.
And delightful to have you here. Could you just tell us where you're talking from today?
I am talking to you from my home office in Edmonton, Alberta, which is northern Alberta, Canada.
Brilliant. I have been near there, not quite there, but beautiful part of the world.
If you've been to Banff National Park or Jasper National Park, those are the closest massive tourist attractions and points of amazing natural beauty to us. Yeah.
It's incredible the difference in terrain from the kind of patchwork quilt approach we have in the UK, which is highly managed, our environment, and somewhere like Canada, which is just very impressive raw kind of nature.
Yeah, it gets wild pretty quickly here, which is kind of cool. Like I have more than once in the 10 years I've lived in Canada taken a road until it kind of stops being a road. And then it's just, you and the moose and the bears. It's pretty spectacular.
That wilderness, I think in the UK,
Yeah.
the thing that we have is the coastline, which is your step into the wilderness, which is like well, it can be gradual depending on the beach you're on, but it is that kind of line where, right, you're going somewhere where you're no longer the person that says how things go, and you're at the whims of nature.
Two winters ago, my husband and I volunteered at the Yukon Quest International Sled Dog Race.
Wow.
In the Yukon.
Yeah.
And COVID has, of course, disrupted its patterns, but normally it runs from Whitehorse, Yukon to Fairbanks, Alaska in odd numbered years, and from Fairbanks, Alaska to Whitehorse, Yukon in even numbered years. And we didn't volunteer along the whole 1,000-mile stretch, but we did a chunk of it, the first 3 or 4 stations along the path, volunteering in the checkpoints to greet the mushers and help them out and feed them and see the dogs. And yeah, 45 degrees below zero is really cold. It is where Fahrenheit and Celsius intersect. Okay. And it's wild. Like you're just the mountains are huge. The cold is extreme in February. The northern lights, the aurora borealis. And all of that, it's just a little bit closer when you live in a place like Edmonton than when you live in the United States or in parts of Canada that are closer to the US-Canada border.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're very in touch with nature in terms of where you live and what you're doing. How does that kind of seep into your coaching, do you think?
That is a good question, because I think of myself as, I come from academia. My first career was, I was a professor of German language and literature. And so, cue the stereotypes with the black turtleneck and the severe hair and very cerebral, very intellectual, and not terribly in touch with nature or your body or any of those things. And I found that living that way, I wasn't being very kind to myself, right? Like my inner judge, my inner critic was pretty much my constant companion. And I felt like the intellectual arena was an arena where I could maintain a certain amount of control, where I kind of knew the rules, and where I had, since I was a little kid, had success. Like I was a good student, and then I was a really good student, and then I was a good teacher, and I'm a good writer. And, so I was ticking off all of those boxes, but it was all just an incredible amount of performance in multiple senses of the word. And when I would be on a river in a canoe or a kayak, or when I would, I took up running in graduate school, and slowly left sidewalks for trails. And when I would go on vacations where I didn't have access to electricity or running water or things like that, it was really frightening It very much unsettled me. And then I found that I kind of enjoyed being unsettled.
Oh wow.
And so
Quite a
that's important now.
to be unsettled. Do you think your life would unsettle others?
I think it does. I'm not sure that it would. I'm not sure it unsettles, innocent bystanders. But my family of origin is occasionally pretty flummoxed by me. Right? I got a PhD. I got the coveted in North America tenure track position. I then achieved tenure, which is job security. Right? You're done. You're cooked. And I elected to give that up and relocate from the United States to Canada 10 years ago. And yeah, it was very much like walking off of a ledge where I didn't quite know what was going to catch me underneath. And I've done various things in the last 10 years, and now I'm a full-time self-employed coach. And I think that looks like a huge risk to a lot of people. I know that when I left the professoriate, acquaintances I knew in the city where we were living, like one of them was like, how could you do this? You have what everybody wants. How could you give it up? I'm like, well, but I'm not happy.
And how did they know that as well? Like you got what everybody wants. I mean, they must, to really take ownership of that statement. They must be the person who everyone tells. So there's an assumption here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So standing on, so you can let go of security. You know how they say to take hold of something else, you have to let go of.
Yeah.
And you're stepping off that ledge. It sounded like that you knew you were going to catch yourself. You had confidence that even if you were stepping off a ledge into something you didn't know what it was, there was a confidence in you.
Yeah, so I moved to Canada in 2011, and I did that because I'm part of what we call in academia the two-body problem, where my husband and I are both academics in different areas, and so for many couples in our scenario, it's really hard to find fulfilling employment at the same institution for two people. And we thought we'd done it right. I was a German professor. He's an academic librarian. We thought we had it all worked out. We didn't. And he had a great opportunity in Canada. And I looked at what I had and I was like, this is fine, but it's not worth him sacrificing his dreams for. And it might not be my dream. I don't know. Right. So I had what I knew was going to catch me was a relationship, right? Like we were, my husband, my kids, me, like that, those relationships were going to catch me. And that, I don't want to underestimate the importance of that. And I figured, I'm smart, I'm flexible, I'll figure something out. And I think my initial thoughts about what I would figure out, they were all wrong, but I did end up figuring something out, right? So I didn't have the plan at all.
And I think sometimes people can be quite keen to know the plan, to know things, to like you said about the roads that you've driven down in Canada. They gradually stop being roads and they start being, well, as you well know, and I have some experience of, they can become anything. But you've got this, as I refer to, the knowledge, the skills, and the confidence within yourself. Like you are a well-equipped individual. So I've got an image of you. Doesn't matter what expedition that you've been asked to do, your backpack's ready to go.
I think I'm getting there, but it has been a process, right? Like in the rear view mirror, I can look and see, wow, you jumped off more than one ledge, right? Growing up, I was like, oh, that looks like an interesting thing to do. And then I'll do it. And I might not know, I might not have or be aware of what's in my backpack even, but I'm going to go do it. And after giving up tenure and moving to Canada, and I should maybe rephrase that giving up tenure thing. I've been thinking about like, what is that narrative I tell myself? Like giving something up sounds like it's a bit of a narrative of loss. And I recently came to this reframing of, I invested a lot of time and energy and money in a non-transferable resource, right? I invested myself in a thing that is not flexible, is not transportable, is not, it's not open to a lot of possibilities. And at some point I realized that that investment was maybe not worth it for me.
Okay.
It's easier to say I gave it up, but I invested in something that panned out in some ways and not in others. And so I switched my focus. But after moving to Canada and trying to figure out, okay, now what is this going to look like? I finished my academic book in the first few months I was here, and then I got an administrative job in a university and was sort of trying to figure out where I was going to build my career. And I was very much still an academic in my mind. And it just didn't sit right. It didn't feel good. And I hired 2 different career coaches, talked to 2 different coaches about what should I do now. And one of them was really clear in showing me that I probably did have more in my backpack than I knew. And that the notion of security and having a future and planning a future and all of that I had a great amount of influence over that, and it did not exist, in this university position or that university position or this number of letters after my name or whatever, that it was created by me, and I could recreate it and create something new now. So I really credit coaching with allowing me to see a different future for myself.
So those experiences sorry, I didn't mean to.
And then I became a coach, in part because both of those coaches said, wow, your skill set really overlaps with coaching. You should try it out.
And how long ago was that, but just out of interest?
My first encounter with coaching was one of the coaches I ended up hiring was an acquaintance. And in 2012, she said, you need me. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But I did not come back to her seriously until 2015 and say, holy cow, I'm not happy now. I need to fix something. What do I do? So in 2015, 2016, I worked with a couple of coaches. And then in 2017, I started my training as a coach.
Okay, that's the same year that I actually started training as well. And I love that, the journey. So you've encountered a coach, the person you knew, your acquaintance. And 2012, you said, I think. And then you've gone on a bit of a journey, and then you kind of come back to it, which is something that I encounter here and there. People, that I talk to, and then I might not hear from for a few months or a couple of years, and they do a journey. Now, I think you and I, as coaches, know that coaching has to be wanted. And that helps form that journey. It's someone turning, maybe not even back to us, but having heard of coaching through us, finds us as a coach or somebody else as a coach, but they want to go and do something, and they see a coach that can help them do something. Now, what do you help your clients do?
Boiled down to its most simple, I help people build fulfilling careers.
And what drives you to do that? Why is that important to you?
My clients are in academia. So they are professors and lecturers and administrators, staff, right? Anybody who works in a university. And my very first coaching course, CTI's fundamentals course, I cried. And all I could think was, my people need this so much, because it is so performance driven. You publish, you have to, it's competitive. It's what you publish is seen as who you are, right? Like the identity overlap between your work and you is like, it's a perfect the Venn diagram is a circle, right? In academia, you're only as good as the last thing you published. You're only as good as the last grant you got. And nowhere along the line in all of my years and years and years of education had anybody asked me, what resonates with you? When do you feel most alive? what kind of work really lights your spark? It was all framed in terms of have to, have to, have to, have to. And so you're just constantly driven by overcoming your deficits rather than reaching towards your potential. And I thought, here's this entire population of amazingly talented, smart people who have huge potential, and yet they're taught that their only job is overcoming their deficits and pointing out the deficits of others rather than reaching for their potential.
Wow. There's a very, very potent sort of diametrically opposed, the deficits versus potential is two words full of different kind of meanings and feelings and emotions. And it makes me think of a question I was asked, maybe you were asked when you were in your teens, which is, the kind of career pathway, the career advisor. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I always struggled. I said this so many times, like I didn't have the menu of every single job out there. So how do I know? I wanted to be a professional mountain bike racer. Didn't become that. But the better that I think I will take ownership over this, the better question is, how do you want to be in life? And it sounds like you help people who live in a very objective world, look at it through a different lens. And there's big overlap between what you do and what I do. We have different arenas, maybe different pathways that people meet us, but the breaking free of the objectiveness and that treadmill.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what happens to your clients when they can step off the treadmill and stand with you?
A lot of them feel like the universe is there to meet them. That here they are rushing towards the next mile marker and really living and inhabiting that place of deficit and inner criticism. And when they step off of that into self-compassion, empathy, curiosity, and an awareness of what they value and what is in alignment with their values and what isn't in alignment in their values, like, oh, a lot of it's right here. I'm just not looking at it. Or a lot of it is sort of in my control, and I've somehow convinced myself that it wasn't.
So sometimes we're not far from what we want, are we?
Yeah.
I can't help but draw a comparison between that statement and what COVID has taught probably a lot of us. Okay, we couldn't travel at the height of COVID. We couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. But actually, I can still do lots of things when I'm in my four walls or within my neighbourhood. And I personally have got to know my neighbourhood and found things that I never knew existed here. And I can still be how I want to be. And I think what you've described in terms of coaching is allowing someone to really be fluent in the language of themselves and understanding their values. And then, like you said, seeing things which are right there that they couldn't see before because they were, listening with the wrong ears or looking with the wrong glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes meeting you to be that interpreter.
And without being self-aggrandizing. I mean, I think as humans, we're social animals, we're storytelling animals, and I think hearing your story as you're telling it to somebody else, or as somebody tells it back to you, or as somebody sort of pulls insights out of what they hear from you, is incredibly affirming, right? I think the more time we spend alone in our own heads, the more squirrely that can get. And the more time we spend in community with other people, I find it gives us sort of a richer picture of who we are and how we're showing up. And so if you don't have somebody who is a disinterested third party, right? Like I can have really great conversations with my husband, but he's invested in a different way. My mom is invested in a different way in my success or the choices that I make. My kids are invested in a different way. But a coach is invested in me becoming the best version of myself.
I think it's a really important thing for many people in our audience to hear. Because with my audience, with my clients who are men largely, because men have trouble opening up. Some of the problems they face is when they decide to, they're choosing the wrong audience. And a friend can offer a certain kind of audience, but someone like yourself or me, who is professionally trained, who is impartial, who is many things, who is skilled, who knows how to listen at those different levels, that is in a way the better choice. But sometimes people do get put off by opening up by those instances where they've tried before but with the wrong audience. Now, I know that coaching is not as well known here in the UK, not as well understood as it is in North America. And that's just something I wanted to say for everyone out there. Is I have a lot of overlap with therapy and counselling, so I always say give the professional and the profession a chance, and yourself. And it's okay to go down a route, even if it's with a coach, and the coach isn't a great fit for you. Hopefully, that would have been worked out in the initial process anyway. But if you reach a dead end, well, you've gone on a journey already.
Yeah.
And you can go on another one. And you are for life. You're not just for Christmas. So, what would you say? Do you think your clients might say of you? What's it like working with you? Quite a tough question.
I hear a lot that conversations with me open up new perspectives. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about being a coach is like, well, there's another way to look at this, right? Let's pick it. That's one perspective. What's another one? What's another one? What's another one? And then sort of selecting like, okay, we have like 5 possible perspectives. Which one is going to work for you for today, for tomorrow? I like that work. I also have a number of clients who really value me as an accountability partner. Okay. So I am working with people who want to build successful careers that are based on, their academic output, their writing, and writing is hard. And I work with people on mindset about writing and systems for writing. And sometimes I say, you just need to give it to me by Friday. And maybe I'm not going to read it, but you got to turn it into somebody. And so turn it into me. And then you can work on the next thing. And then when it's all turned into me, then you can give it to the editor, or then you can look at it one more time. But that accountability piece and the checking in and the knowing that, okay, I'm going to talk to Jennifer on Thursday. And I told her I was going to do this, this, and this. Oh no, I should probably go do that. And so and I found this when I was working with a coach, I can let myself off the hook, right? Maybe I don't have to do that. But if I've said it out loud, like, this is really important to me, this is a priority to me, and somebody on the other end of the call is saying, okay, when are you going to get it done by? And I say, Friday. They say, great, tell me all about it. When it's done, then I've made a contract with myself to get it done, and I've made a contract with another person to get it done. And so that accountability piece, I think, is really important too.
I'm linking that now to what you said earlier about the role a coach plays, and they're there to serve the client. So the client's there to serve themselves without sounding putting a bad connotation on that. And you're there to serve the client and help them serve themselves. And that's that. The agenda is there to help them be who and how they want to be.
Yep.
And the role of accountability, this is where I'm getting to you're allowing them, by them being accountable to you, well, they're not. You're helping them be accountable to themselves, which is such a valuable, but quite simple, but very valuable role that a coach can play.
Absolutely.
I think I breathe a sigh of relief when I do that with my coach. Like, good, I've got someone, and not just my coach as well. I've got some other people in my life that professionally who help me with that. So when I interview people, I like to come up, and you'll be familiar with this because you come from the same school of coaching, the life purpose statement. Now, I try and offer one to the people I interview, and this is from my perspective. So you've gone on a journey of transformation yourself from that very the kind of cerebral academia, all neck sort of sweater mode, and then we next see you in all of your outdoor gear with your backpack on and go, yeah, okay, let's go. And something around being a guide or being a facilitator, making the ledge, and the drop below it, possibility.
Yeah.
And there's something there around allowing people to see sort of the technicolor of life. Like the mountains are right outside their office. They're not looking there. You can help them see that and then go, right, well, wow, I want to go and explore that. Now I've got Jennifer on my side.
Yeah. I like that. I do like the word guide. I like the word guide a lot. And I like the fact that it rhymes with side, right? The guide on the side. That resonates with me a lot. And I'll confess, like our shared coach training, that life purpose statement, man, it took me a long time. I struggled with it in the session. I struggled with it for a few months after. And what I do with my clients now is I kind of give them, I don't know if you're familiar with Mad Libs. Nice. Kids on long car rides, they're little notepads of kind of make your own story, where it'll be sentences and then blanks in them, and it just gives you the part of speech. So it'll say noun, verb, adjective, right? And you fill those in, and then they get plugged into the story, and it becomes a ridiculous story. So I give my clients, I'm the noun who verb for direct object, so that impact, right? Like I give them that as a format. And I do like to think of myself as like, I am a guide for academics who, I'm a guide who wants academics to see the kaleidoscope around them.
Ooh, okay.
And find their path through that. And that's something I'm making up on the spot, because
that's how it works. So you are the guide on their side. So in your person, you say, I'm the guide on your side who helps them find the path through the kaleidoscope of possibilities, let's say.
Yeah, and it is possibility focused. Yeah, it's not like overcome your whatever. That's right. Yeah. It's kind of a magical world out there. Let's find your path through it.
Potential and possibility.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I think potential and possibility is the thing that's out of sight, that is below the ledge you're about to step off.
Yeah.
I went on a walk last week, the weekend just gone, with my partner and a friend, and there was a trail on something called the Dragon's Back, which is in the Derbyshire Dales, and I didn't really know how abrupt this kind of this trail was. It was, it wasn't very wide at the top. I'm not the best with heights, and I had to go near the ledge, and I didn't want to, because it was a bit of a vertical drop for about 15 to 20 feet, and then but what I noticed was that the people who got to the ledge, they had to go down a slope to get to the ledge. Then it was a firm footing of a ledge. And they could stand and see what was below that, and actually it was okay. I didn't get to that ledge, and I stayed in fear. But then when I got around it a different way and then looked back at it, I was like, oh, okay, I could have done that.
I could have done that.
And I think this sounds like what you do is partly you help someone, just step off the ledge and be okay.
Yeah. And the question about, staying in fear is the risk of confronting your fear and moving past it, is it worth it? And to me, that speaks to desire. As coaches, sometimes we get clients who come to us who are in a real crisis, a crisis of confidence, a crisis of career. That's usually what shows up for me. I know other people, work with relationships or bodies and health, but people sometimes come in a real crisis. And then it might be easier to see like, oh yeah, I'll do anything to get out of this crisis moment. But if things are okay and you think like, oh, the view from here is not bad, I'll stay here. Then do you have the oomph, the desire to slide down that scary ledge to get to the flat part where you have a better view? Maybe not, right? Maybe comfort is good for you in the moment. What I enjoy about coaching and what I enjoy about using my tools on myself is, who's to say where my limit is? So right now I'm building a business and I'm creating things, right? I'm creating a program, I'm creating ways of communicating with people. I'm sort of creating myself as a coach in the public sphere. And who's to say where my limit is? And if I'm happy with where things are now, and I am, I could just say, okay, this works. Or I could say, what is the possibility that still remains for me? And if I desire that possibility, if I desire that bigger version of myself, what am I willing to go for? What am I willing to risk? What am I willing to sort of be afraid about and do anyway to see what the new vista is? And that notion of like the possibility for being a bigger version of myself, a more self-actualized version of myself, a more successful, fill in the adjective there. That is something that coaching has very much opened me up to. In 2015, one of my first coaching conversations, where it became really clear to me that my coach was holding a space for me that was larger than the space I was currently filling.
I love that. I love that idea. I know it's coachy language, but holding a space, fending off people from themselves, from their fears and anxieties and limiting beliefs, kind of occupying that space. And so you stay here. Yes. Sounds like you create that. Well, you said it. You create that space when they drop off the ledge. Like I can almost imagine that someone, when they meet you, they can maybe not even see you. They can hear that you're down below the ledge, and it's okay to drop down there with you. And when they do, they drop into that space that you're holding. And when we do that as coaches, it's safe to look around, isn't it? You've got that partner with you, that the guide with you. I think that's a very important point to make. Your clients take every step themselves. They go on a journey, they walk it, and you're just walking with them.
Mm-hmm.
But they obviously take ownership over that, and it must be so lovely for them to look back at each kind of ledge that they've stepped off and see how they've grown at each stage, and just have you can almost imagine plots on a map and go, oh gosh, I remember that, and I remember that, and I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. You remember when I was afraid to put my name forward for that? I remember when I had a client pretty early on where we were talking about her hopes for her career and whether she should move in this direction or that direction. And we worked a lot around values and resonance. And she shared with me months later that our conversations had opened her eyes to how unhappy and unsatisfying her marriage was. Mm. And we spent very little time talking about her marriage. We spent almost all of our time talking about her work. But the showing you the possibility for you and your life to be fuller, right? Like you're not, I liked that your body language there, like hemmed in by your self-limiting beliefs. This is the only way it can look. Nothing ever changes. it's always this way, this always happens to me, or that's just the way the game is played, or whatever that defeating script is that we run. If we can crack that script a little bit, then, oh, maybe I don't have to live in this tiny life. Maybe I can
Yeah, completely.
live in a larger
I
life.
think I have a background in personal training, and I've had lots of injuries in my time. And the human body is very good at coping. So when you have something lacking somewhere, other muscles and structures take up the slack. And so if you have an injured foot and you hobble, the other leg becomes stronger, but the muscle adaptation goes all the way through your body, up to the back of your head. And I think that is that constriction. Okay, well, I can exist here. We're very good at saying, okay, I can get through this. It's like, well, no, hey, let's understand this. There's clearly some information here to understand and decipher, and then you are creating that space for somebody to go, right, do I want this? And the conversation you talked about, okay, you didn't talk about marriage. That is so common in coaching, isn't it? Where someone arrives with something as a topic, and lo and behold, off we go over here. And it's led by the client, but we don't know that, they don't know that. Coaching is very much in the moment, and that's why it works.
Yeah. What my favorite example of that, and this also connects to that guide metaphor a little bit, like they are taking every step of the way, but I might be more familiar with the trail because maybe I've walked dozens of people or more down that trail or a similar trail, right? So I'm a little familiar with, oh, here comes the next hiccup. Here's the next dip in the road. Here's the next big rock you have to scramble over. But a lot of people come to me with a writing-based fear deadline. Like, I need to get this book written and published in order to get tenure. If I do not get tenure, I will lose my job. If I lose my job, I will be broke and homeless and living in a refrigerator box underneath a freeway on-ramp. Right? Like, it's that cascade.
Wow, they've just mapped out how it's going to be, haven't they?
Yes. And I know that narrative because it was my narrative. Like, got to get the book written, got to get tenure, or I wind up homeless. Like, it was, it was straight to catastrophe. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I'm like, great, let's get the book written. And I will meet them where they're at, which is I need to write the book. But it isn't about writing the book. It's about, like, do you know who you are when you sit down to write? Do you believe in what you're writing? What's your relationship to writing? What's your relationship to your field? What's your relationship to the people who are going to be reading this? What's your framework for thinking about the book? Is it like, is your book or your article or whatever, is it your defense? Is it a shield you're putting up saying, don't shoot, right? Because I have a thing I can offer you. Or is it an invitation to a conversation? And just like the framing of all of that, that'll help make the writing go so much better. And I know that through, hard-won practice and working with a lot of clients, but people think, oh, a coach is going to help me write. It's like, well, that might be the end goal, but the process to get there is like, I don't got a magic bullet for you. I do not have the elixir that's going to turn you into a Nobel laureate, but I do have some tools that'll help you figure out who you are as a writer, and that will make the process work better for you.
I love that. I think I always refer to my clients as the one tool they use for everything. So I'm not going to coach you, we're not doing it from one perspective, or one thing in your life, because you're the one thing that turns up everywhere. Yeah, so,
absolutely.
Yeah, so again, this is in terms of helping people from academia break free of the objectiveness. It's not necessarily about going and doing that thing. It's about looking at the thing that does that thing, and actually, you're not a thing. You're a whole person. You're full of possibilities. You can be how you want to be, and when this is what was that quote? Do things that make you come alive, because what the world needs are people that come alive. And now unfortunately I forget who said that.
I'm not going to be able to help you because the quote I'm thinking of is a book titled by John Kabat-Zinn, who's an American physician and the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is a mindfulness program that has been clinically tested very thoroughly for like 30 years. But he has a book called Wherever You Go, There You Are.
Mm, mm.
And so that notion of like, you're the tool, man, you are the tool that you use on every problem.
Yeah.
You're the hammer and everything's a nail. So let's work on making that hammer a little bit more flexible.
Let me get a prop.
Oh, is he going to bring up the book?
No,
Oh,
my mobile phone. Now, I say to people, if you were a mobile phone, what condition would you be in? Because this thing is so well careful. I plucked it off a charging station.
mm-hmm.
It's got a protective case in the back. It's got a magnetic thing so it sticks to the mount in my car. It's got a screen protector. Its software's up to date. It's got some memory. It's this, it's that. It's on me all the time in my pocket. Does anyone care for themselves as well as they do for this thing? Because people say, well, I use this for everything. And I say, not quite. You use this for everything. And I think coaching definitely helps people look after this.
That is such a great metaphor.
But I'm full of metaphors. My kind of go-to, language. But again, you can get lost. You can miss this when you're, as you say, the academics that you serve, and they're missing that relationship with themselves by the sounds of it.
So you come to coaching from personal training. I am curious because I know that you and I both went through the CTI coach training. I am curious for you how what we call in CTI geography and what other schools of thought call somatic coaching, like how did that land with you? Because that has been a big journey for me. I remember the day that we learned about working with movement and the body a little bit in coaching. I and at least one other person in our cohort of 25, we're sitting in the corner in our chairs with our arms crossed going, not gonna make me do that nonsense. No, thank you very much. And we did it because we're good sports and maybe saw something there. But and then through certification, I practiced more with it. But it took a while for me to sort of integrate because I think a lot of people, we see ourselves as heads on sticks, right? Like we're just brains in meat sacks and we don't pay attention to the meat sack. And I was paying attention to my body also in really like outcomes oriented ways. Like I will run a marathon and then I will run another marathon and I will do yoga and I will do all of these things to discipline my body. So it wasn't like I didn't acknowledge I had a body, but my body was another arena to accomplish stuff in. And so like the coaching mindset that I intellectually got pretty quickly and then worked my way into over years until it's become more of how I just am in the world. That attitude towards my body has taken longer to catch up with me. And the somatic side of coaching and the somatic side of our brain, right? Like I'm still working on that a bit. So I'm really curious how that shows up for you in your work.
My background is a little bit more, I used to be a teacher. So I've been a teacher, personal trainer, carpenter. And I think from the teaching, I was very aware that it's pretty hard to get young people to sit still for a very good reason. They're not meant to. Number two, very physically active in my work as a carpenter and a personal trainer. I think to answer your question, one of the best examples of me using that embodiment and somatics without being officially trained in it, it came when I was working in a GP surgery or for a GP network, so a collection of surgeries. And the majority of people never saw me. It was on the phone because it was during lockdown, so 16 months working during lockdown. And I had to expand my language. So I'd say, what are you doing right now when we were talking about something to do with coaching? Well, I'm pacing up and down the lounge. Okay. What are your steps like? What are you doing with the hand that's not holding the phone? I feel tense. Where do you feel tense? I feel tense in my legs. Okay. Well, if that tension could say anything, what would it say to you? And what we're trying to do is to learn the whole language. and it's that episode of coaching, had one of the senses taken away, as did the client, so we couldn't see each other. But the imagination and actually connecting with the body that we're in, that became amplified. So then what I would do is I'd mirror what they were doing. Okay, so you're clenching your left fist, right? Okay, and what are your steps like? They're about 1 meter long. Okay, and I say, I'm getting quite hot doing this, and it's tiring holding my fist. And they go, oh yeah, I'm really tired. Okay, how do you feel about being tired? Well, I'm, pissed off. And again, it's just that it's a language. So I love it, because when people can't come up with the words, like writing, often I personally find it's easier to talk. So I will talk something out and get it transcribed. And lo and behold, I end up with a document. Well, if you can't talk and you can't come up with the emotion or the feeling, the official name for it, what would you call it? What does it? It's the red heat in the back of my neck. Okay, great.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, and I do acknowledge that I tend to approach all of these things through, okay, I'm going to go read a book about this. There's a book for everything. So I'm going to go read a book about this. I'm going to learn about it. And so I recently read a book called Your Body is Your Brain.
Okay.
I can't think of the author's name, but and I got it, right? I'm reading it. I understand the research. I understand how it shows up. And so I intellectually get it. And then the next thing is, okay, if I have these insights, how am I going to do something with the insights? And so then it's, what do I do when I'm out walking the dog? What do I do when I'm doing yoga or Pilates? What is my body telling me in any moment? And so my second step is talking to my body. But I recognize that in coaching, if sometimes the words aren't there, your body's always there and it always has something to say.
It does. I think I'm thinking of a therapist I interviewed a few weeks ago called Paul Sinclair, and he talked about how we sell off parts of ourselves to conform to a structure. And we were talking about the relationship between children and adults. So adults have gone through some kind of system. They've sold parts of themselves off to conform to society. And then the children, to have access to their own parents, they have to sell off parts of themselves to then have access to their parents, because their parents are existing in a constricted world. And I think this is conformity and, going through a Victorian style education system, which, there's still remnants of that going on. And we're probably selling off our creativity and just being expressive. Now, I live near, about two miles from the beach, and I haven't seen this guy for a long time, but there's a chap I'd say in his 60s, he would wear a big pair of can earphones, and he would just dance down the beachfront like he was like in flash dance and grease and this and that, and he just did not care, he was just part of the furniture, and when you first see him, like, oh my word, and then, but that was someone who was unbridled, and maybe he was very in touch with what their body was telling them, and to dance, is a way of talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I love those neighborhood characters here. I moved in August from my eldest child's bedroom as my home office into the official home office. We've done some rearranging, and I have 2 big windows that face our street. And so I get to see everybody walking their dogs and older couples taking their morning stroll, right? I get to see all of that, including the gentleman. And now it's fall, it's getting a little nippy. I'm not quite sure what he's going to do, but there's an older gentleman on a sort of classic 10-speed road bike who goes by in each direction every morning, wearing nothing but a helmet and a Speedo bathing suit, a little tiny one, on his bike every day. And this is Edmonton. Like, there is no place where you're going to jump in the water here. I will tell you that. Like, it can get, like, we maybe hit high 20s at some point this summer, but we have a river. It's cold.
Wow.
Public swimming pools have not been open because of COVID. Like, I don't know what he's doing in his Speedo, but it is not warm enough for that, my friend. But, you know, there he is on his bike, cruising the neighborhood in his tiny swimsuit every day, and wearing a helmet for safety. So points to him, but doing his thing.
He's a safe exhibitionist. I mean, he's got a different perspective of what's possible, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Again, bringing it back to the kind of the coaching
Yeah.
conversation is, I think something, or you think something. You're cycling on the street. He thinks of something else, and that is an endless circular spectrum of speedos and a helmet are just fine if that helps you be how you want to be.
Yep.
I'm conscious of the time, and it's flown by, Jennifer. But I wanted to ask you a question because you are the guide on the side of your clients who helps. I'm going to say so. I'm going to offer you the life purpose statement again.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to talk to that person. So I want to say, you are I am the guide on your side. Who helps you step off the ledge of discipline into the freedom of the unknown.
I'm going to write that down.
I am the guide on your side who allows you to step off the ledge of discipline into the freedom of the unknown. I think that's what I said. And for the audience, just to let you know, I've kind of been just jotting down really kind of rough words as Jennifer's been talking, because I like to capture this. I don't do that when I coach. It's for the purpose of producing a life purpose statement today. And so the question for you, Jennifer, is what's your next ledge that you are stepping off or will step off from? Or what is the freedom you're going to step into?
Yeah, I think the freedom I'm going to step into, the sort of safe unknown, safe because it's me, unknown because I don't know, is I am not everything for everybody. I am me for the people who need me. And I think being really clear about who I am, and I mean, it's also what coaches help their clients do, like, who are you and what is the impact you want to have in the world? And when you're an employee someplace, like, maybe that is pretty clear. I got to do this, but I'm a self-employed coach. And so, like, I am my own boss, so I get to write my own job description. And so what is that job description going to look like? What are my success metrics going to be? And so really figuring out, like, what does success mean to me as a coach in terms of the impact I have and the presence I have. Presence, both like in that integral sense of how I show up in the world, and also like, how visible am I?
Wow. Okay. There's a lot of meaning on that journey.
Well, I'm not an easygoing boss, right? Like, if I'm my own boss, I'm not super easygoing.
Do you look for someone that can help you be easy on yourself when you're looking for a coach?
Yeah. Easy on myself, maybe not. I look for somebody who reminds me that I get to set the benchmarks, and so I don't have to set ridiculous benchmarks, and that I am enough no matter what. So that compassion is really important.
I can imagine that being very important for your clients who are in and coming from the world of academia, where they're only as good as their last game, and so on and so forth. That compassion must be highly valued.
Yeah.
Wow. As I said before, I think we could talk all day. But
it's been great.
I'm going to bring this to a close and say to anyone the role of these experiences in getting to know the coach is, you can look up any coach online. You can look up Jennifer online. But what I wanted to do is to get the essence of somebody. I think we've done a very good job today of.
Yeah, thank you so much for opening up questions for me to insert myself into. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Thank you so much. And I think it'd be nice to get you back maybe later on in the year, find out what's going on in your world, and
That'd be cool.
how
That would be
can
great. There will be things going on. Absolutely.
I do not doubt that for one second. Jennifer, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob. This has been great.